emergency occurs. There are therefore consequences to putting in that regulator. Sure, it is convenient. It theoretically removes the problem that we're all worried about. But it comes with a price that two of the issues that are of specific importance to us, and that's everybody getting pressure that is up to a reasonable standard and fire suppression, those both go out the window with a master regulator at the tank.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Linda Leisure. I am curious if the city had any reserve funds to help with the cost of this project.
The city did not. For a number of years, the city council, and I'm speaking from my perspective,
Yes.
took a great deal of pride in keeping water rates as low as possible, okay, which was great until 2022. And we had no reserves that could have been used to offset some of the borrowing costs. So essentially, the city is trying to catch up.
Okay. Is this for other, and I can't even describe what other projects I'm thinking of or concerns that may occur. Is that going to happen to us again? I'm concerned about paying over $800
Sure.
a year more for my bill, and now I'm hearing $400, $500, $600
I understand.
to get my valve that I appreciate getting. Thank you.
Approximately 8 years ago, when the city was upgrading the sewer lagoons, that was another situation where, those rates had been, just hadn't been adjusted. So there again, the primary funding source was that state revolving fund program, state revolving loan fund program, and rates increased at that time. There was also a change in the rate structure itself. Prior to that project, residents were charged a water rate based on the number of cold water taps in their home. And all I can presume is that if you had more water taps, you will presume you were using more water. And it was self-reported. So who knows whether people were actually paying the appropriate rate. Okay, so that rate structure was changed to basically be based on the size water line into your house under the assumption water in, water out. And so that's when the sewer rates increased and the water rate structure changed.
Okay. I think some of this, for me anyway, is everything is just kind of sudden. The increase last year, although it was in increments, it was sudden. And then we got this other notice, and then a public notice on Facebook, and then a pretty colored one in the mail. And it just seems like it's so arbitrary. And I don't know how it could be more touchy-feely or better or anything at all. But it just seems to be
anything from a governmental unit is not going to be.
I know, but it just is so. You got to pay this now. You got to do this now. And I'm understanding everything you're saying as to the function and the need and the attempts and whatever, but it's a little overwhelming as a resident. That's all.
I just remind all of you that we are all city residents too.
Understood.
And
No, and I got it. You have an older home and yours, and everybody's got their own little focus. But
just wanted to point that out because it's easy for some people to think, well, they're on the other side of the table. They don't.
oh no, I wasn't thinking that. No.
And we do. And I can't think of anybody who has sat at this table in the last 4 or 6 years who has jumped for joy at getting to pay higher rates.
I just think it was compounded when we had that $70 a month, and now all of a sudden, I got to come up with $500-600.
Understood.
So that's all.
Thank you.
I'm learning, I'm understanding, not appreciating, but I'm following.
I will take the understanding.
All right.
I will take the understanding.
All right.
Does anybody have anything in addition or new to say at this point?
I was to say that if
Councilman Simon?
yes, to the extent that we haven't covered any of your requested actions in your letter, do you want to go through those at all?
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like we've kind of touched on most of them, but it is obviously took you time. You took your time to write it. It's well thought out. It's well presented, and I don't want you to go away from this thinking that you used all this time and we didn't address your concerns as best we could.
is there a way to delay it until more residents are actually aware of what is happening? Because from tonight, from weeks past, people are throwing this in the trash. So I will just say that because they don't know it.
Yeah.
There's so many, and a lot of them are on social media. They don't look at their bills. That is a huge concern. But that's not just a Townsend concern. That's a nationwide concern as well.
People don't read.
They unfortunately do not.
Yeah.
The construction contracts are very clear in terms of how many construction days that are under the contract, and our contractor is already having some members of the crew go on to other projects. So any sort of a stop in this is going to increase the costs, because then basically the contractor has to remobilize. And that costs money. Councilman Halleck.
Angie and I were chatting the other day as well, and we were wondering if a delay occurred, could that conceivably impact the bonding agreement with the state revolving fund, where suddenly we're not required to pay an extra 45, 50, 60 bucks a month. We're suddenly required to pay the bill in 30 days.
I have not memorized the bond indentures.
I'd be a little surprised if you had there,
What we don't want to do is default on bonds.
Correct.
I'll tell you that.
and that's the scariest thing in the world. If you think the bill's hard now, wait till they come back and say you're in default, you owe us everything in 30 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I understand that we can contact the city and they will help us find our whatever we're looking for?
Yes.
And that you would also have qualified referrals for plumbers?
We
for
have
this
a list
project?
of plumbers.
Okay.
Found another one just last week. I got some contact information.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I understood that we could call and get that
Mhm.
help from the city and
Absolutely.
the information. Thank you.
Councilman Brown, you've been quiet. Anything?
I was inherited another house in town. After my dad passed, well, I'm actually doing 2 city payments for the city. So I know the pay. It's not, I mean, yeah, I can sell the house, but I mean, it's not fun to sit here, say, here's what you owe, and act like we're not doing anything. Like we spend a lot of time in chats and talks and meetings and try to make it easier on everybody in the city. I mean, that's why we want to be on this council, because we want to help the residents of this city. There's some hard decisions.
Yes, there are. Yes.
I'm just wondering, when you watched the other cities that did it, did they have problems? Did they?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, the one that I have heard most frequently was Harlowton. And just in generalities, I don't know the details. The comment was made that it was about 2 years before they believed they'd identified all of the issues, whether it was on the resident side or on the city side. And just, keeping in mind the age of many of the houses and possibly plumbing. There might not be an issue right away, but there could be an issue later when something finally just gives up.
Yeah, the plumber that did our house.
Yes.
He said that they redid Clancy And they knew water, they hit with like 200 pounds, and blew a bunch of stuff out and stuff like that. They had to, well, there's a lot of work there and stuff like that.
They do that.
And he said that Helena is, they run about 100 pounds. 100 pounds. And so they got, yeah, he said they run about 100 pounds in Helena. But he says the plans to upgrade the water system and it hit him with like 220 or something like that. And,
I think not on purpose, but.
No, it was on purpose.
Yes, Eric, would you like to speak to
I
that?
can actually address that. If you note, when you go to Helena, you will see fire hydrant with different colored caps. Blue caps mean extreme high pressure. So there's a lot of parts of Helena that run roughly 220 pounds of pressure because that's what they sustain. The benefit that we're actually staying under 78 pounds, I mean, is huge. You know, so I mean, yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.
Mr. Gibson?
Another question I got. Each of us is gonna have our own issue. I think my house I've got lined up to get dealt with. My main concern is gonna be that water line that belongs to me that I've never seen and hopefully never will.
I can appreciate that. I
And I'm
used to
sure
go to
there are a
school.
lot of people I mean, all of a sudden their front yard is just gonna implode because that pipe blew out. And it's not gonna be just one or two. Have you guys taken a chance, or maybe you should think about what's your contingency when there's 24 houses in town that have that issue? I mean, hopefully it's not gonna happen. I'm really fun because I'm in a trailer house next to the old city hall and the little house in back. We capped that off about 25 years ago so that I didn't have to worry about a water bill for a house that was a shed. That's gonna be an indoor pool, I'm afraid of, because who knows how strong that pipe is that goes into the crawl space of that house. But other people are gonna see the same kind of thing, where their yard falls in or that, they've got Old Faithful out front. I don't know what kind of contingency you could even think of
Thank
to
you.
try to be able to address that. I'd be lost.
Councilman Simon?
Eric, am I misremembering, or did you say that there was going to be sort of a phase in this? Like it wasn't going to be all at once? There were tests, checks along the way? As far as the...
Essentially, June, when the tower is filled, it's going to fill slow. Because they got to check for leaks of that as it continues to fill. So that week when it's filled and they're doing that test, it's not going to fill all at once. So it's not like we're going to go from 55 to 78 pounds all at once. It's going to be a gradual increase in that week. So, and I won't even be able to fill that. If I did the math beforehand, I could give you a more adequate answer. But it's going to take me 48 hours at least to fill that tower. And they're not going to want it all filled at once because they got to check it as it's filled, right? So anyway, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that there might be this idea that it's just going to all hit at once. Like we're just going to, open the hatch and then boom, like see what happens. So obviously that's happening over a week. That's still not a great amount of time, but maybe it's a little bit better than the idea of just opening the floodgates.
Right. And Mayor?
Yes, Eric?
After that week, it's going to be drained back down as well. And then we got until August when it comes back online. And that's when we will essentially be running at that pressure.
Councilwoman Bose?
Just to tag on to what you said, at the last couple meetings we did.